Hi guys, it's Miss Angie,
And it's your girl Nene.
and we are back on episode number 9 of the Underrated Voices Talk Show. And we have our lovely special guest, Miss Karina Fambro. How are you today?
I'm doing well, ladies. How are you both?
We
Doing
are
good.
awesome. Thank you for asking. We're going to go ahead and jump right into this thing. We know you have several inspirational things going on. So, what's a little bit about you right now? What's your forefront thing right now that you're shining with?
So I'm about a year and a half into being a full-time food blogger. I started out sort of just using my regular social media page to start sharing recipes that I was creating. And the more and more I got into it, when you start off something, you kind of go down a rabbit hole. And I went down the rabbit hole of learning about food blogging, and I realized that I could make a career out of it. So I'm about a year and a half. There's a lot of stuff that went on in between that, but I'm about a year and a half into being a full-time food blogger.
Great.
Wow,
Yes.
beautiful. So, of course, we know that it's inevitable, the topic of food. I mean,
Right,
we
right.
need it, we love it, but what really got you into even just cooking, regular social media? Like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna cook.
Yeah, so there's several things that kind of got me there. So I've always had a love for food. And back when I was in high school, I mean, I've been cooking since I was a kid. But back in high school, I wanted to go to culinary school. And my parents are more traditional, and they were like, no, you're going to college, you're going to major in music, and this is the path that you're going to go. So it was always sort of in the back of my mind. And time and opportunity sort of presented itself. We were living, my family and I, we were living in Seattle, let's see, about a year ago. And at that time, I had been a stay at home mom for about a year. And my husband kind of sat me down one day and he was like, I need to see you doing something passionate again. Like, excuse me. He's like, I need to see you doing something that you're passionate about. Like, you're a great mom, but you're kind of falling into this trap of just motherhood. I need to see you doing something, working on something that can fuel you as a person outside of being a mom. And of course, like food blog or something around food had always been in the back of my mind. But because of him and that little push that he gave me, I always tell people it was tough love because he didn't say it that nice. But him kind of pushing me and saying, like, you need to work on something. I said, well, okay, I'll make a recipe and I'll post it and I'll kind of let people know, what I'm trying to do and I'll see where it goes. And I posted my first recipe. It was just a random soup recipe, and I put the recipe in my description, and I kind of just told people I'm on this new journey. If you want to follow along, this is kind of where I'm headed. And that one recipe has now turned into 75 plus recipes. And here we
Wow.
are.
Wow.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, shout out to your husband.
Yes.
Even though it wasn't that nice, you
It was
relayed the
not.
message very well.
But you know what I will say? But my personality, I need tough love most of the time because if you say it nice to me, I'll just kind of brush it off and make it not a big deal. So I needed that tough love at the time because had he said it nice, I probably wouldn't have gotten the message that I needed to give.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. I can definitely relate. We were having a conversation about people being passive aggressive the other day and about the
Yes,
male being the leader. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely, definitely something that we both can relate to,
Right.
having that balance. You
Yeah.
definitely need that. So I did hear you say that you are a full-time mom, so you're a mommy as well.
I am a mother. Yeah. So the funny part about this journey now looking back, I'm like, I wish I had started this sooner before trying to tackle something like this that is so time consuming and then trying to pair that with being a full-time mom. It has been a serious struggle.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm a full-time mom as well.
Beautiful,
Wow.
beautiful, beautiful.
So I heard you say that you were interested in going into culinary school. So did you ever go?
So I never went, but when we were, and that's another thing, my family has moved around a lot. So you'll hear me reference things based off where we were living. So we were in California at the time, and I was still working full time. And during that season, I was sort of searching for passion again. And I did find this 16-week culinary program that I attended in Los Angeles. That was back probably 3 years ago. So I didn't go to full time culinary school, but I did complete this 16-week program that definitely solidified that I knew that that's sort of the realm that I wanted to be, was something around food.
Okay,
Beautiful,
good.
beautiful.
Great.
Well, let's talk about your blog a little bit. What's the name of your blog, and where can the people go to get these great recipes?
So my blog name is Seasoned to Taste, and my website is seasonedtotasteblog.com. It's just a blog that's based around simple meals that have some sort of a twist, because I would say that my audience is a lot like me. We're busy, don't have a lot of time, but you don't want to skip out on using real food and whole food, and you still want to eat tasty food, right? And then for me, I meet a lot of people who are afraid to try different foods. So
Me.
I always, yes, okay, right.
Wow, really?
I get a lot of messages about people that love food, but they've just never tried certain things. So I always try to keep my recipes simple, but then I will try to add something that makes it sort of a twist, so that I'm introducing new foods for you to try and learn how to pair different things together.
Cool.
Awesome,
Cool. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to know about how you go to this grocery store, honey. That's what I want to know.
So believe it or not, and that's something that I have on my blog. I have this like random facts page on my blog. I love to grocery shop. Like I love to come up with the list, know the recipes that I'm going to make. I put all the items in order based off the layout of the store. Like
Wow.
that in itself is even, that's a part of the project, right? Like that's even a project in itself, coming up with the list, what items I'm going to create that week, creating that list, finding the right items. Yeah, that part is even that's a job
Wow.
in itself.
That's
But
definitely a gift.
and I know, like, for some people, going to the grocery store is a chore. Like it's therapeutic for me to go through the grocery store and go through the aisles and look at the food and see new items. Like I get excited.
Wow.
Wow, wow. See, I love to cook as well and come up with
Okay.
things and put them together.
Hmm.
But the grocery store part, I don't know what it is about the grocery store that I'm like,
Really?
I dread go. I'm gonna get so many things when I go to the grocery store the first time, because I'm thinking about everything I can get so I can
That time.
take the longest amount of time in
Right.
between times. And I'm one of those creative cookers too, because
Mhm.
if it's anything left to keep me from having to go back to the grocery store, I am all for it. But that is absolutely beautiful. And it's good to have simple things, because I know a lot of times people say, well, that's too expensive. Even going on different diets, trying to
Absolutely.
stay healthy or lose weight. It's
Mhm.
like, I want to be healthy. I want to lose weight. I want to do these things, but I can't afford any of this. Like, I can't even afford a week worth of it. Like one day of food, and I'm back on my path. So that's beautiful that it's something that's simple, but also spiced up, but affordable. And I overheard you say your family wanted you to go to school for music. So do you still do anything music related?
So before I met my husband, I was teaching music at the time, and I already had a music degree, but I wasn't certified to teach. So I was in this program where I was going to get certified to teach, but then I met who was my boyfriend at the time. I met him and I moved to California. So I sort of left that part behind. I've played in a few weddings over the years, but I have not tapped back into the music part yet. That's actually something I'm wanting to do now that we're back in Georgia and life has sort of slowed down. I'm hoping I can to pick up music again,
Okay.
because I
Awesome.
definitely live on the creative side. Clearly.
Beautiful, beautiful. I always ask about music because I'm a music person. So I'm like, wait a minute, she said music. Let's tune in here.
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. And Nene was telling me that you had been on
Cooking with
Cooking.
Shaq.
Yeah, so and that's the funny thing about these types of journeys, is that all it takes is for you to kind of take one or two steps and stuff just starts to kind of fall into place. And that happened very early on in my career. I want to say maybe 3 or 4 months into me seriously trying to be a food blogger. He had posted that he was coming out with this new product and he wanted to test, someone's recipe on it. And I didn't even see it. One of my friends sent me the post that he made, and they're like, you should just try to see what happens. And of course, initially I got nervous and like, oh, I'm not ready. And I'm not that big yet. I'm not that big on social media, but I figured, what do I have to lose? And I've also learned in this journey, I can't be afraid anymore. So
Right.
I'm always constantly trying to push myself, even if I'm nervous about it. So I just said, you know what? I'll put myself out there and I'll see what happens. So I submitted my recipe, and one of my recipes got chosen.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
So saying that you're not known enough and jumping into it, and it sounds like it's going great at this point.
Thank
Do
you.
you know, you're most welcome. Do you know who your biggest supporters are? Like, I don't know exactly how blogging works, so I don't know if you are connecting with people or you just see the numbers or what happens, but to know that it grew so fast, do you personally connect with any of your fans or followers?
Yes. So social media is tricky, right? So you go into things assuming the people that you know will be your automatic and most supporters, and they're not, right? Because they know you personally. So it's hard for them to sort of connect this other side of you that you're trying to show to the world.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
So for me, strangers and people that I had just met were more quick to connect and hop on my food blogging journey versus my friends and family who are just now kind of understanding, like, oh, you're actually really doing something. Like,
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
you're not just posting cute stuff and wanting likes. I'm like, no, I'm actually over here working, trying to build a business. So for me, not only have I just connected with strangers who have now become my supporters and my friends, I would also say that I've connected with so many people in my industry. And that was something that was weird for me at first, because normally you go into these things and you're feeling like you're in competition with the people that are trying to achieve the same thing that you are, right? But for me, a lot of the success that I have experienced is because other food bloggers have reached out to me and said, I love your work. I see what you're trying to do. Let me help you. Let me show you what you could be doing with all this that you're creating. So, yeah, I would say friends and family are normally the last ones on board. And it's normally the people that you don't know who will more so connect with what you're trying to share. At least that's been my journey.
Most
Yeah.
people's, and very beautifully said. And it's a blessing to be able to have that support. We're all about connecting, so many times we talk about women and connecting, but just as a whole, as a society, and being able to support someone else and saying, hey, you know what, you got something good going on there. Let me tell you this or tell you that. So it's a blessing to have that. It really, really is. And since you've started, have you had any moments yet like, well, I don't know, maybe I don't want to do this?
How much time y'all got? How much? Let me tell you. So, this is another interesting thing about following your dreams, following passion, starting your own. I wish someone would have told me how much I would want to give up along the way, because there's so many reasons to give up versus keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going down a path like me with food blogging, is where you don't just wake up one day, become a food blogger, and you become Instagram famous and you make thousands of dollars. That doesn't happen until years down the road. So
Mhm.
there's this very big, I would say, gray area, which is where, for me, my gray area was where I was grinding. I was creating recipes, building my website. Nobody really knew about it. Nobody really cared. So there was this huge area where I was having to grind it out, supporting myself, doing it by myself, encouraging myself, and I wasn't getting that immediate feedback, right? Because that immediate feedback is the people liking the content, the people saying, "Oh, we want more." And there
Right.
was a long period of time where I wasn't getting that. And even now, to where I am, where I'm somewhat a little bit bigger, there's still so much, or so many hurdles that you have to overcome. I want to give up weekly. I would say there's at least one day out of the week where I'm like, maybe I should just throw the towel in. But I was just I was just telling a foodie friend yesterday that I will say the one thing that I've done consistently so far is not giving up, which is weird because normally I'll just throw the towel in and move on to the next thing. But this is
Yeah.
the first time that I've chosen that I'm going to stick this out. I'm going to really give it my all and trusting that if I do that, the reward is going to come.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Definitely, definitely. And that's truly beautiful. And same here, it's like we'll be so excited, like, okay, let's go do this and let's go do that. And oh my God, and we're gonna give them this and we're gonna give them that. And oh, this product is nice and they'll love it. And da 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 da. Even doing more than one thing at a time, and then you'll have crickets, and it's like, okay, God, is this part of it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Is this
you
a
learn
part?
you learn a lot of resiliency. And I've also accepted that just because I think something is great doesn't mean my audience is going to feel that way. Because what I'm noticing is I'll spend weeks developing this recipe that I think is going to blow up. And when I present it, it's like, oh, that was cute, but what you got next? But then
Yeah.
I'll create this other recipe that I barely planned for that I basically just pulled my camera out because I had stuff I needed to get rid of, and it'll go viral. And I'm like, okay, so what does
That's
that
what they
Yes,
want.
mean?
yes. See, we're
So
overthinkers, being creative people, and
there you
and we're in
go.
a microwave stage, so
That's
people like
right.
something that is quick but good at the same time,
Yep.
Right.
and they can keep it moving, which is, it's not necessarily sad, but come
Well,
from a different era.
it's a part. It's right, you said we're in a microwave stage, right? So it's a part of where we are, and as a creator you can tend to over create, like you said, and overthink. So there has to be that balance of like, okay, I'm going to need to be creative in order to catch them, but then I don't want to be over creative to where I get sort of lost and they sort of lose what it is that I'm trying to share, you know.
Right.
Exactly.
So I have definitely learned the hard way about not overdoing it and just staying true to myself and accepting that if I'm real, if I'm honest, and if I just put it out there and not overthink it, 9 times out of 10, they're going to accept it and they're going to love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, do you have visuals of any of your recipes? Like, do you kind of do a cooking show and show the audience how to make some of your dishes?
Yeah, so I've had opportunities and also created, like I've done lives on social media. I've also been featured on other, not podcasts. I've been featured on other brands where I've cooked, certain recipes in front of people. So yes, of course, due to the pandemic, that sort of, slowed that in-person part down, but I have a few times. That's sort of where my weakness is. I get nervous in front of people when I'm cooking, but
Yeah.
I have done a few. I've done a few lives, and I've also done a few appearances for other companies and brands where I've cooked for them and then show them how to create a recipe.
Wow, that's
Beautiful.
awesome. That's awesome.
Beautiful.
So, with your recipes, which one is your favorite and which one is your least favorite?
That's funny. Do I have a favorite recipe? I would probably say my favorite recipe is a recipe that has brought me the most engagement.
Right?
I have this recipe on Pinterest that's called a crab sushi bake. It's like an easy way to make sushi at home. So you're not rolling the sushi, which is normally the hardest part. You create the sushi in this casserole dish. And for some reason on Pinterest, people love that recipe. So I would
Okay.
definitely say um, that's my favorite recipe because it was one of those recipes that I didn't overthink. I just kind of, we were in the middle of the pandemic and coming up with different ways to keep dinner fun. And I just made this recipe and I just shared it, and people were really receptive to it. So that's probably my favorite recipe right now.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, good.
Yes, you got me already on the crab part.
This
Yes,
one incredible.
I
Oh
love
my God.
crab.
It's
Oh, that's my
ridiculous.
favorite
That's
food.
one thing I'm not giving up.
I can't. I will not. If I ever have to, it's definitely a punishment. That's my
Yeah.
favorite. I can eat crabs every single day with
I
no
posted
problem.
I posted a recipe with seafood the other day, and someone commented under my post and said, "You need to watch this documentary on Netflix." And I politely said, Thank you, but no thank you. I will watch the documentary, but I am still going to be eating seafood. So,
And I'm not
Oh
watching
wow.
it. I'm not watching anything that's remotely
no,
discouraging me.
I'm all about
Don't
saving the earth, but I am definitely still eating crab.
I have to. It's inevitable. I'm sorry. Forgive me if I'm wrong to anybody, but I'm gonna eat it. When
That's
we
me.
finish this, I'm gonna go eat some crab
Okay,
legs.
yep, that's me all day long. I'm with
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely.
So do you have a least favorite? One that you didn't really
Ooh.
just
Okay, that's a good question because that's something I'm trying to work on. Again, you can go into it all day long thinking, I'm gonna create this, I'm gonna give y'all this, and you're gonna love it. No, your audience is gonna tell you what they want.
right.
So as a food blogger, baking is a big part of eating food, but I am not a baker. Like baking is way too precise for me. Everything has to be measured out, and I just don't naturally cook that way. You know those sayings where they're like, I cook until the ancestors tell me to stop seasoning the
Yeah.
food. Like
Mm.
that's just how I naturally cook. So I don't necessarily have a least favorite recipe, but I do not necessarily prefer to bake, but I am trying to push myself more to learn to bake because I know that it's something that I'm going to need to provide for the people that choose to come to me for recipes. Because I'll
Right.
get questions about, like, hey, do you have this type of recipe? And I hate not being able to have one. I don't mind sending them to a foodie friend that I know that they can go get a recipe from, but I want to kind of be their one stop shop.
Right.
So I would say I don't have a least favorite
come visit us at Body Blessings Day Spa, where we specialize in body sculpting, body cavitation, and non-invasive laser lipo, as well as an array of other services to pamper yourself. We're located at 1590 Atkinson Road in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Give us a call at 770-910-7348 or visit www.bodyblessingspa.com to book your appointment now. Thank you so much.